Well, I mean, if you sit down and you do your homework and you look at the money that's spent, when you go back maybe 4 years prior and you look at the Department of Defense budget and you look at the money that's spent, so this building can be deemed the most secure building in all of the United States of America. And then you look at how in the world was a plane even able to get within a certain radius of the building.
Yeah, they admit they have missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, guns, all of this, always ringing it. And then we know that day Dick Cheney ordered to stand down.
Right. I mean, so you have to say, you know, that leads to more questions. You got to understand, you know, everybody knows at this point that the official story was botched up. They know the official story was botched up. But, you know, there are certain things that lead to certain questions. You know, how do you spend this money in this building? And then on this particular day, nothing was functional, nothing was operational, and this building, the most secure one in all the United States, was able to get attacked. What's the probability of that? I mean, you have to really look at that. I mean, you really think about it. It doesn't have a very high probability of something like that happening, especially to
No, I agree. Now, give people a basic overview of your story, what this led to, lawyers, other things. I mean, hit all the key points.
I mean, when I was, you know, again, then it went to, okay, something's got to be done. But I'm more of an effective type person. I'm not more of just talk. I try to find ways to get things done. So the first thing was I wanted to try to find a lawyer. But it was very hard because no one wanted to take the case. Then I started appealing to members of Congress.
Now, that means take the case. Tell people what you had a case about. I mean, specific.
Well, you know, it wasn't that it was clearly identified because here you had the official story that was saying that it was a terrorist attack. However, there were so many questions out there that would lead you to believe otherwise.
And
so
they were
with a legal action.
And they were holding up
lawsuit, and with legal action, you can get those documents, and then you can put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Exactly. So you really start investigating.
Right. So the purpose of the lawsuit was to try to obtain a lawsuit. The purpose of it was the best way to get to the bottom of a situation is to litigate and have documents subpoenaed and obtained, and then that way you can piece together what is true, what is fact. This is what happened, this isn't what happened.
Yeah, I've done that before.
But, you know, it got, you know, one, it was really hard to try to find attorneys who would take it. We finally have two people now in 2008. So we're, you know, it's been a long standing. We thought the commission was going to do something other than what it did, so then that wound up being a disappointment. Finally, in 2008, we've had two wonderful attorneys, which we'll come back probably another time and talk about pursuing litigation options. And that's only because that's how you're going to get the information.
Well, listen, I knew they were taking down Access TV on a smaller area and engaged in corruption, so I just sued them for one issue to get documents on another and caught them stealing, as I already knew they were doing, and sent the guy to Huntsville. So, but then it went up to the higher level folks in the city, so they killed the investigation with only him going to prison, John Villarreal. But yes, you're right. If you know there's dirt and then you've got one claim, it's good to start a lawsuit to get in to something and burrow in. It's, you know, it's a way to get in there and get the facts.
Right.
Now, let's be specific. You were there. You went through this. Have you ever had threats or intimidation after, other than trying to go after your job or not, give you medical releases? All other key points before the show ends.
It was after that, and after the questions came, after I said there's no way I could possibly say my child wasn't there. After. I said, well, okay, these are very valid questions.
Because they were asking you to lie. They were asking you to lie and say your child wasn't there.
They pretty much wanted me to say. They didn't say lie. They said it was inappropriate for me to discuss.
And so, but they wanted you to say, though, that your child wasn't there, though.
Right.
Yeah.
That I was there visiting. I took him there to visit. with other people. And I said, you don't bring your child.
So they wanted you to say that you'd basically snuck your child in.
Pretty much. And I brought him there to visit with other people.
Okay, so
bringing my son to visit.
So day one, you're in the hospital bed, and they're telling you this is what you saw, this is what happened, and now they're trying to set dirt up on you, and so you start to really ask questions.
I wasn't going to say it, so that was it. I mean, the truth. I say the truth as I saw it from the perspective that I had, and that's what I stand on. And
okay, were there threats after that? I mean, now that you've been public for the last year or so, or now longer.
It just seems like, actually I've been out from the beginning. I just was trying to find other methods of doing things that had a little bit more teeth to it. We've taken up this issue since the January of 2002. And then November, December, that's when we started trying to get attorneys. So
ever since then, something was wrong. I mean, you didn't see a plane. None of this happened. You smelled a big, fat, dirty rat. And so run over the high points. I mean, run over the key things that have happened since then.
It was like afterwards, an investigation is only supposed to take 90 days from the date of the event. So that's from September 11, 2001, 90 days from September 11, 2001. Investigation part for the medical was not over until 2003.
Wow.
And then that was because it seemed like every 2 months or close to the beginning of the third month, the paperwork would get lost, and then we had to start all over again. And then finally, when that was done, all of a sudden, I would supposedly have been overpaid by the Department of Defense, a certain amount of money for this period of time, all of a sudden. And it's in total violation of their regulation. There's no way you would be able to go.
Okay, so there's all sorts of dirty tricks going on. Did you start to figure out that something was wrong?
Right. That evidently either I was on something or they were concerned about something that I said, because the behavior, it just all got very unusual. And most of the time when you see that, it can only mean a number of things. But again...
April, when did you first start to think, hey, this is an inside job?
Well, I began questioning about the end of November 2001, and that's when I began to go on a search to find an attorney. So it's not just, starting a year, or maybe people are just finding out about it, but it's been a long journey.
No, I know you've been out a few years.
I understand.
But, I mean, folks have only known about you for a few years because you were kind of within the system trying to fix it from within. I'm going to skip this break for Infowars.com audio stream listeners. If you're listening to Genesis, you want to go over to Infowars.com and listen to the streams there if you want to hear the behind-the-scenes discussion. For everybody else on the wonderful AM and FM dial, shortwave satellite, we'll be right back with a final segment with April Gallop. But we're going to skip that break right now for the folks listening at Infowars.com. Stay with me.